Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Bird Running Water, and I am the director of Sundance Institute's Indigenous Program. I wanted to thank Ianetta for that beautiful land acknowledgement. Those of you who are tuning into screenings will see that we've done these land acknowledgement videos that are playing before each screening. I want to introduce the executive director of the Institute, who is Carrie Putnam. She's my boss. And I want to have her give some welcoming remarks on behalf of the Institute. Carrie?
Thank you so much, Bird. It's great to be here. I also just want to thank the Red Spirit Singers for that beautiful opening. And good morning and welcome to all of you. I hope you're having a great festival so far. I want to start by thanking the Indigenous Program supporters. You make this work possible, and we are so grateful to you. I want to offer a special thanks to the donors behind the Merata Mita Fellowship. Because of you, we're able to continue to honor Marita's remarkable life, work, and legacy with support that generates new voices and groundbreaking work. So thank you all. You know, Native and Indigenous filmmakers were a key part of Robert Redford's vision when he founded Sundance Institute. And I'm so proud that they remain one of our most vibrant and dynamic communities. All of you gathered here today and so many more. It's been another remarkable year for Indigenous artists, and we're humbled and grateful to be part of that story. In a year of uncertainty and change, it's also inspiring to me that our Indigenous program forged ahead, launching new initiatives and partnerships, particularly to meet this moment. This included the Indigenous List, an intensive for Indigenous artists, and a series called In the Center, supporting Illuminative's Warrior Up campaign against COVID-19 in Native communities. I'm so excited to be here with this community because your voices, your stories matter deeply to all of us at Sundance. And I know gathered here are an incredible group of filmmakers, creators, and allies. Credit for this vitality of this community goes to Bird Running Water and also to his remarkable team. They've cultivated and fostered artists and stories with great care and passion. Bird, Adam, Netta make themselves present in communities. They find and support new talent. They develop pathways that allow the next generation of Native and Indigenous filmmakers to flourish as artists. And of course, we're especially proud when those artists join us here at the festival. Bird himself is an extraordinary leader. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit now, Bird. He empowers others to tell stories. That's his calling, and he does it magnificently. And in addition to overseeing the Indigenous program at Sundance, he's also in charge of overseeing all of our diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And really the Indigenous program has become a model for that work across the Institute. The work he's shepherding through his program is inflecting our cultural dialogue. And not only has he helped shape a program and foster a community, but I think he's really created a family of Indigenous filmmakers and artists spanning 3 generations. So thank you, Bird, for your dedication, your passion for making independent film richer, more inclusive, and more beautiful. Congratulations to all the filmmakers we're celebrating this morning. We look forward to continuing our relationship for many years to come. And now I'd like to welcome Bird back to the stage.
Thank you, Carrie. You're too kind in your comments, but you know, one of the things that you mentioned, I think that we've been dealing with in 2020 has been the pandemic and kind of the way that we had to readjust the way that we do our work, but also, it was a moment of racial reckoning in our country. And so it was a great moment for us as an Indigenous community to kind of join our Black relatives to really rise to the occasion to fight for, recognition and the rights and the reckoning of a shared history specifically. And one of the things that I know I have personally experienced has been the loss of relatives due to to COVID-19, and to also have to not be able to go home and participate, in that grieving process with the community. But thankfully, I'm so grateful to have my traditions to be able to carry out, that mourning process from afar. And I know many of us have been having to adapt to these times that in order to do that. And, we've provided kind of an ongoing community digitally for so many of the people that we work with around the world during this very trying time. And, and we've been able to really carry out some really, I think, great initiatives to keep doing the work that we do and to keep evolving and to keep adapting to the times. And so I wanted to kind of just give you a little bit of a highlight of some of the things that we accomplished, during a very, like I said, very trying year last year in 2020. For one, in the spring, kind of late winter, maybe, early spring, one of our Indigenous film alumni won an Oscar award. Taika Waititi was nominated for 6 Academy Awards for his feature film, Jojo Rabbit, and he took home the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. And during that time also, we had a number of our alumni who were invited to join the Academy, who are the voting body of the Oscars. Alumni like Sterling Harjo, Elamaya Tailfeathers, Chelsea Winstanley, Sally Riley, all of these people were invited to join the Academy. And so they join a small but growing family of Indigenous film artists who are a part of the Academy. In the summer of 2020, we launched a 6-part video series called In the Center that featured Sundance Institute supported filmmakers creating videos, under safety measures within their own homes most often, just to kind of present how they were managing during the first month of the pandemic. This project was launched in collaboration with Illuminative, which is a new national nonprofit working to create narrative change in our country. And they launched a campaign called #WarriorUp. You can look for that on all social media. But also these videos do exist on our Sundance Institute YouTube channel. And they're really artful and creative and actually kind of gave a lot of great comfort to so many people in our community who were trying to find a way forward to deal with the moment that we were all sharing. In the winter of 2020, we had a collaboration with the Blacklist and also Illuminative again to create the Indigenous List, which was the national call within the United States for Indigenous artists with scripts. And in the end, we selected 9 screenplays that were selected for that inaugural Indigenous List. And they're basically the very best Indigenous film and television writers living and working in the US, and also who had projects that are looking to be produced. And they covered a diverse range of storytelling, from comedy to young adult stories, thriller to drama. And so it's like really great diversity within that pool of artists. And so many of those artists have been commenting about how many meetings and how many requests for opportunities that they received from our industry when they appeared on that list. And then just this month, actually just yesterday, we launched a second year of collaboration with our streaming platform, a streaming platform called Mubi, which they focus on classic and art house cinema. And this year they're offering 9 Indigenous short films from past Sundance festivals. And they were launched yesterday, and they're available throughout the year. You can sign up for a 7 free-day trial to access that platform. And then, year round, one of the things that we really upped our digital engagement through our website, through our social media, we offered a Vision and Voice Artist Conversation blog series with Indigenous Program Associate Director and Short Film Programmer Adam Perrone with selected filmmakers. We also offered some Indigenous Peoples Day blogs by certain alumni who kind of gave their perspectives on that day. And so, it's just a really great moment for us to really engage. One of the things that makes all of these great things happen is the Indigenous team, what we call #Team Indigenous. Not only do they manage 30 active fellows and deliver year-round programs and provide ongoing project support, but they also activate that support at all levels of the artist journey, from conception to completion, connecting with audience, One key element the team drives, as I mentioned above, is our innovative online content with blogs and videos. And we have a huge engagement footprint with our Indigenous community, really worldwide and beyond that. We get a lot of repostings and we have such a high traffic level. I think as we're all living, engaging through our media on our screens, we've been able to really create, an Indigenous presence and to also indigenize, I think, that digital space. I'd like to introduce my team. I have Adam, Ianetta, and Moy. There's a dream team. I feel really proud to work with them. Associate Director Adam Perron, who I mentioned, he's Kiowa and Mohawk, who also is one of our short film programmers. Senior Manager Ianetta Le'i from Waialua, Hawaii, and our coordinator, Moy Santos. This is our dream team, hashtag Team Indigenous Film, and they all continue to do great things to make all of our work continue, quite seamlessly as we continue to, like I said, adapt and adjust. I wanted to take a moment to introduce, thanks Team Indigenous. I wanted to take a moment to introduce the Indigenous films that we're screening at the festival. We have 4 films that we're screening. One of the first is a short film it's a short documentary called This is the Way We Rise. And the director is Kiara Lacey, who is Kanaka Maoli from Hawaii, and a screening and documentary shorts program 1. And it's an exploration into the creative process of Native Hawaiian slam poet, Jamaica Osorio, as her art is reinvigorated by her calling to protect sacred sites atop Mauna Kea. As we know, many people have been living on top of this mountain trying to prevent, another telescope from being built on their sacred land. And you can see that in Shorts Program 1. We have a feature film called Wild Indian by Lyle Mitchell Corbine Jr., who belongs to the Bad River Band of the Lake Superior tribe of Chippewa Indians. And it's playing in US dramatic competition. And Lyle came to us through a number of fellowships that we operate through the program. And we started working with him with a very early draft of this script, probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And he's been able to go through all of our Sundance feature film program labs, screenwriters labs, directors labs. He was personally mentored by our founder, Robert Redford. And his film follows 2 Anishinaabe men who are inextricably bound together after covering up the murder of a schoolmate. And we kind of meet up with them years after separation. And I can't wait for you guys to see that film. It does world premiere tomorrow on our platform. And one of the things that I've been getting a lot of messages from, it is sold out, but it'll be playing, and hopefully those of you who see it will really get to enjoy it. We have a short film called The Fourfold by Elisi Telengut, who is Mongolian from the Telengut peoples. And it's in the short animation Spotlight. And it's an exploration of Indigenous worldview and wisdom based on ancient shamanistic traditions and animalistic beliefs in Siberia and Mongolia. And we previously showed a short film of hers in the past, and so she's returning to the festival. It's really great to welcome her back. We have a feature film called Coming Home in the Dark, coming to us from Aotearoa, New Zealand. And that one is directed by James Ashcroft, who is Napuhi, Natikahu, and English. And it's in our midnight features section, which is most often, more genre films are a little bit more scary. I'm often afraid of that section. But in that film, a teacher is forced to confront a secret from his past when a pair of ruthless drifters take his family on a nightmare road trip. Next, we have our Indigenous Program Fellows. What you're going to see here are 6 individuals who competed in a national competition. And for the first time, we actually had a couple of international folks participate in this Native Lab, thanks to a partnership with the Indigenous Screen Office of Canada. And the people that you're going to see on this screen are Amanda Strong, who is our first, Indigenous Canadian fellow. She's Métis. And Keanu Jones, who is Diné, and Rob Fatal, who is Mestiza, Ute, Raramuri, and Pueblo. And so you can keep an eye out for these folks as they journey to make their short films with our support. We were able to select, because we're doing a digital effort, two artists in residence to participate in the online event that we're hosting. Peter Zist, who is Laguna Pueblo, and Cole Forrest, who belong to the Nipissing Ojibwe First Nation. The next group that we decided to focus on, we wanted to expand some of the work that we're doing beyond investing solely in short films. And we decided to start seeding and developing some feature films and some episodic content from some of the alumni that we've worked with in the past, who we maybe worked with them on short films, or maybe they had a short film at our festival, kind of a bit more on the emerging side. And so our feature film fellows are Aaron Lau, who is Kanaka Maoli, Elamaya Tailfeathers, who is Blackfoot and Sami, and Erica Tremblay, who is Seneca, Cayuga, and Wyandotte Nations. Our episodic fellows were Johnny Kanoyer, who is Shikangu Lakota, Shandine Tome, who is Diné, and Blake Pickens, who belongs to the Chickasaw Nation. You know, and one of the main reasons why, you know, traditionally, if we were all up on the mountain in Utah, we'd all be waiting in line to get our breakfast foods. You know, we'd be sharing a great meal together. And the great moment of our breakfast would be when we would announce this Merata Mita Fellowship. And Merata Mita was a very dear friend of mine, a great mentor. You know, she was the first Indigenous woman to, you know, solely direct a feature film. She wrote, she directed, she produced in New Zealand back in the 80s. And I had the great pleasure of meeting her through previous program director, Heather Ray, and back in probably the year 2000. And after I took over the Indigenous program, she became our artistic director of the Native Lab, and really mentored some of our, you know, really wonderful filmmakers who have established such great careers. You know, Merita belonged to the Naitirangi, Ngati Pikiau tribes in New Zealand. And, you know, she was such a great force in our international Indigenous, you know, filmmaking community. And she was such a great mentor to so many of us. And, you know, she even mentored people historically who came through the program, like Sterling Harjo and Andrew Okpiaha McLean, and, you know, Sydney Freeland, and so many others, Taika Waititi as well. And so this fellowship, you know, offers 1 year of intensive support that's designed specifically for an Indigenous woman who is endeavoring to direct a feature film. And she'll receive a cash grant, a year-long continuum of support from not only our team, but also the Institute. And so this past year, we were pleased to receive double the number of applications from around the world. And I'd like to have our Associate Director, Adam Perrone, come and, you know, talk about our new fellow.
Hi, everyone. As Bert had mentioned, Merita was a force in and for Indigenous cinema. I was lucky to have known her a few years back, and when Bird took the charge to establish this fellowship in her honor, I knew exactly the type of person that this opportunity would be for. It was for all the Indigenous women who were taking a leap forward, not only for themselves as artists, but also in their communities and for Indigenous people everywhere. Merita was the first for many things in Indigenous cinema, but not because she necessarily wanted to. It was because she knew she had to. She knew that by taking the steps that she did, that she was the one that was going to be making a path for other Indigenous artists, especially women, those that knew her, those that didn't, and those for generations to come. It's with that in mind that we've done the outreach, analysis, and consideration that we do for this opportunity. It's for artists that are not only similar to Merita's spirit, but also for keeping up the momentum that she had put out there. Before I introduce you to this year's Merata Mita Fellowship, Merata Mita Fellow, I want to briefly talk about how much of a fan of her work in particular that I am. I've been tracking her short films for some time, and I was really thrilled to see that she had applied for this fellowship, unprompted by myself or anybody on the team. She has such a unique filmmaking style and an artistic voice that is unmistakable, and one I think that everybody will definitely keep an eye out for after this. Her most recent short has been making the rounds on the festival circuit, and she also hails from a region that's been making some of the most dynamic and exciting cinema within Indigenous cinema as of late. It's with that I'd like to introduce you to this year's Merata Mita Fellow, Maria Balnango.
Boreke, Waidin Sita Nuhubel Abi Borbevi. Kiitän kun odjon veilosuola lehki Danjagas Merata Mita Fellow, my Sundance Institute alkalma programma joiha. Hello. First and foremost, I would say how grateful I am for being chosen for this year Merata Mita Fellow, a Sundance Institute Indigenous Program arranges. So huge thank you for this opportunity. My name is Maria Bolnango and I'm Sami. In Sami, my name on my father's side is Hurur Maribir Nis Johanna Maria, and on my mother's side, it's Smavo Ailo Astrida Maria. I'm honored to be taken under the wings of Merata Mita's name as fellow on Sundance. To have my name intertwined with Merata Mita is not only an honor, but I view it also as a responsibility, as she embodies the strong Indigenous woman in every sense of that saying, in her filmmaking, but also how she powered through adversity in her personal life, while still managing to make great films at the same time. Her life on Earth ended before my film career had even started. But we, the Indigenous people, are all intertwined. We are intertwined by our common history of colonization that unfortunately looks too similar, whether it be in Sápmi, New Zealand, or in the States. That also makes the history of filmmaking somewhat similar. To use Mereta's words, I've always felt strongly that our land gets taken, the fisheries and the forests taken, and in the same category is our stories. Our lands were colonized and now our stories are in line. That goes for all our Indigenous stories across the world. In some countries, they have set policies of inclusion in order to get financing for Indigenous stories on film, that they have to have Indigenous advisors, Indigenous key creatives, or even partly Indigenous ownership. In Sápmi, the area of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia, we have no such inclusion policies. After the success of the Sami director Amanda Cannell's narrative feature Sami Blood in 2015, the non-Sami saw how it was critically acclaimed and their hunger of Sami stories arose. Suddenly, our stories had value after being recognized by the leading film festivals in the world, but only in the hands of non-Samis. The institutes have proven this over the years by not granting Sami filmmakers finances to produce narrative features. The last Sami narrative feature, directed by a Sami, produced on the Norwegian side of Sápmi, was 13 years ago. The total of narrative features with mainly Sami content, directed by a Sami in all 4 countries, is in total only 4. Only 4 films in the span of a 30-year-long narrative Sami film history. The ownership of Sami stories, all Indigenous stories, should and shall be with us. As I work on my first feature, I Love My Gorohaji, I want to change the structure of producing. I want the majority of ownership of our film to lie within our people. I can sometimes feel the burden of this goal, but I remind myself of all the Indigenous filmmakers who once were the first of something. I humbly step in paths other Indigenous filmmakers have tread before me, such as Merata Mita. Trailblazers clearing the road for us to come behind. If not for them, the road would have been still unpaved. And I hope that one day someone can walk in the new paths I tread. When Merata Mita was in her early film career, she got invited by the Ngati Watoa tribe to film the land rights occupation at Bastion Point as the police came to evict them. Marita explains, the reason they gave me for wanting me to make the film rather than say television or other people in the media was that they felt it was important that for once the story should be told as it is felt by the Maori people. Her work and words remind me of how connected the Indigenous film community is, as her words ring true to me to this day. And I want to end with borrowing her words. For once, the story should be told as it is felt by Sami people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, and congratulations on this honor. We look forward to really supporting you and cheering you on as you endeavor to make this feature film. And I think you brought up, a lot of important details about the world that our community has to work with. It's kind of like, there's 100+ years of cinema, and most often we haven't had much self-determination, in our telling of our stories. And so, it's like, that's one of the core concepts of our program, and the way that our program works within Sundance and around the world is to really empower Indigenous storytellers to exercise their own self-determination and sovereignty, to really tell their stories and to tell our stories from our point of view, and to, really, I believe, kind of share with the world, so much hope and philosophy and healing that we can offer, to so many, challenging moments, especially ones like that we're living through right now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.